So why are you still exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep? Why does your body feel like it's dragging through mud while your blood tests read normal? Why does every day feel heavier, every task more impossible, every breath a quiet act of survival? You've tried the supplements, changed your diet, forced yourself through workouts. You've told yourself to push harder, to be grateful, to just get through it. But the truth is, you're tired in a way that rest doesn't touch. What if your exhaustion isn't physical but psychological? What if your body is not the problem but the messenger? What if this chronic fatigue is your psyche's last-ditch effort to get your attention? Ask yourself, what are you carrying that no one sees? What part of yourself have you silenced in order to keep functioning? Where are you pretending to be fine when you know you're fracturing? Carl Jung warned that what we refuse to confront in the psyche will show up in the body. And chronic fatigue is often the body's quiet scream, a rebellion against the persona you've been forced to wear. The more you avoid your truth, the more your energy collapses under the weight of that avoidance. You're not lazy, you're not broken, but you may be profoundly misaligned. The question is no longer what's wrong with me. It's what part of me have I refused to hear, and is this fatigue the only way it knows to speak? You've likely done everything right. You hydrate, you eat clean, you move your body. You go to work, respond to texts, smile at strangers, keep up appearances. From the outside, you seem functional, even healthy. But on the inside, you're unraveling. You wake up already tired. You get through the day on fumes. Even joy feels like a chore. You tell yourself it's just stress. You blame poor sleep, hormones, the weather, but deep down you know something isn't adding up. You've rested, yet you're still not restored. What are you missing? What if the problem isn't in your biology, but in your being? What if your fatigue is not about the body wearing down, but the soul being unheard? Have you considered that you may be living in contradiction, upholding a version of yourself that no longer fits? Carl Jung didn't view symptoms as enemies to be eliminated, but as symbols to be interpreted. And chronic fatigue through this lens is not random, it is meaningful. It is often the psychic cost of disconnection from truth, from desire, from self. You might be stuck in a job that kills your spirit, a relationship that deadens your voice, or a lifestyle built on shoulds instead of soul. But you push through because that's what's expected. You override your intuition, suppress your emotions, minimize your needs. And still you wonder, why am I so tired all the time? The answer may be this: you are not tired from doing too much. You are tired from being someone you're not. In Jungian psychology, chronic fatigue can be a manifestation of psychic repression, a signal that your inner life is being sacrificed for a performance. The more energy you use to hold the mask in place, the less you have left for living. So now the question becomes, what have you silenced in order to survive? And are you willing to listen before your body has to speak louder? Your fatigue isn't just a medical mystery. It may be a spiritual truth breaking through. To understand your chronic fatigue through a Jungian lens, you must move beyond the surface. Carl Jung believed that energy, what he called libido, was not only physical or sexual, but psychic. It is the vital force that animates your entire being, and when it flows freely, you feel alive, connected, and purposeful. But when that energy is blocked, psychologically, emotionally, or spiritually, it doesn't just disappear, it stagnates. It turns inward. It becomes exhaustion. Are you waking up tired, not because you lack sleep, but because your life lacks truth? Is your weariness the result of a body that's failing, or a self that's being ignored? Jung taught that when your psychic energy is consumed by repression, suppression, and contradiction, it creates what he called psychic tension, a silent war between what you present and what you truly are. And this inner conflict isn't abstract, it drains you. It dulls your senses. It saps your motivation. Over time, it wears down not only your will, but your body. The first place this happens is in your persona, the mask you wear to function in society. You build this mask over years, layer by layer, to gain acceptance, to survive, to meet expectations. You learn to smile through disappointment, to say yes when you mean no, to appear strong when you're collapsing inside. But the more energy you invest in maintaining a persona that's no longer authentic, the more depleted you become. Ask yourself, who are you being for others, and at what cost to your own vitality? Behind the persona lies the shadow, all the thoughts, emotions, impulses, and desires you've disowned because they didn't fit the image you were trying to maintain. Rage, grief, envy, ambition, fear, these energies don't vanish when denied, they go underground. And there, in the unconscious, they fester. They feed on your silence. They drain your life force slowly and silently. Have you noticed how tired you feel after pretending? How exhausted you become after holding in anger, hiding sadness, or swallowing the truth? That's not weakness, that's repression. Jung warned that what you repress will rule your life from the shadows, and fatigue is often its first language. There's also what Jung called the individuation process, the soul's inherent push toward wholeness. Individuation is not self-improvement, it's self-realization. It's the process of integrating all parts of yourself, light and dark, conscious and unconscious, persona and shadow. But when you resist this process, when you cling to false roles, ignore inner callings, or deny inconvenient truths, your psychic energy stalls. The fatigue you feel is the price of your postponement. Are you tired because you're overworked, or because you've been avoiding your true work? Another Jungian insight is that chronic fatigue may point to a blocked inner transition. Perhaps your soul is trying to shift directions, a career change, a divorce, a creative calling, but you keep saying, "Not yet, I can't, it's not realistic." So the energy that was meant to flow forward into transformation has nowhere to go. And that blocked current becomes heaviness, lethargy, apathy. Have you considered that your body may be collapsing, not from weakness, but from a refusal to evolve? Even your dreams, often dismissed as random, carry clues. Jung viewed dreams as communications from the unconscious, rich with symbols. If you're experiencing dreams of falling, drowning, being chased, or trapped, these may not be coincidences. They may be your inner world screaming for recognition, your soul expressing what your ego won't admit. And the more you ignore these symbols, the more exhausted you become from the effort of resistance. Are you listening to what your dreams are trying to tell you, or waking up more tired because you keep pushing them away? Jung also spoke of psychic inflation and fragmentation. When you identify too strongly with your role, the mother, the achiever, the healer, the perfectionist, you overinflate one part of your psyche while neglecting others. And the neglected parts, your inner child, your creative self, your rebel, your lover, become starved. This imbalance creates a kind of inner anemia. You are not whole. And you feel it even if you can't name it. You feel it as fatigue. So what are you over-identifying with? What parts of yourself have been pushed aside? And how is your body mourning their absence? Finally, Jung taught that the body is the shadow of the soul. It doesn't just carry physical weight, it carries psychological truths. When the psyche can no longer bear the burden of contradiction, the body begins to express what the mouth cannot say. Chronic fatigue may be your body's rebellion against betrayal, the betrayal of yourself. And so you must ask, what am I hiding? And how long can I keep it hidden before my body collapses under it? What am I still performing? And who am I doing it for? What part of me is tired, not from effort, but from abandonment? Your exhaustion is not random. It is specific. It is symbolic. It is sacred. To heal, you cannot simply rest your body. You must reclaim yourself. Because until you do, no amount of sleep will be enough. No diet or medication will bring you fully back to life.
Jung didn't see fatigue as an obstacle to overcome, but as a message to interpret, a symptom with soul. So listen, because your body is not failing. It is delivering the truth your conscious mind has refused to face. And until you meet that truth, the fatigue will stay. Not to harm you, but to wake you. You wake up and feel like you never slept. The alarm goes off, and it's not just your body that resists getting up, it's your spirit.
Everything in you feels heavy, even after a full night's rest. You move slowly, automatically. You go through the motions, breakfast, email, work. People ask how you are, and you smile, say, fine, maybe even joke. You've gotten good at functioning. But inside, something is missing. You've been to the doctor. Blood work, normal. Thyroid, B12, iron, all within range. You've tried cutting caffeine, doing yoga, going to bed earlier. You've read articles about burnout, adrenal fatigue, nervous system dysregulation. And while some of it helps a little, nothing changes the core fact. You're still tired. And not just in your body, you're tired in your bones. So what's really going on? Look closer. You spend your days doing work that doesn't inspire you, speaking words that don't belong to you, saying yes when you mean no. You smile at meetings where your ideas are ignored, nod along in conversations that bore you, and pretend to care when your inner voice is screaming for silence. You say you're okay because you're afraid of what will happen if you finally admit you're not. Ask yourself, who are you being for others? And what does it cost to keep that version of yourself alive? You've built a life around shoulds. You should be grateful for your job. You should be happy in your relationship. You should be productive, helpful, kind, successful. But under all that expectation, your soul is suffocating. You feel like a stranger in your own skin. You go to sleep with the dull ache of having lived another day as someone you're not, and then you wake up tired all over again. This is not laziness. This is not weakness. This is not just stress. This is a soul in conflict. According to Jung, when the psyche is divided, when your outer life contradicts your inner truth, the body will eventually protest, and it does so through symptoms. Fatigue is often the first and quietest form of protest. Before illness, before collapse, the body whispers, "You're not where you're meant to be. Are you listening?" Now look at your dreams, if you remember them at all. They've become dark lately. You dream of drowning, being chased, trapped in buildings, late for appointments, falling through floors. You wake up not refreshed, but even more tired. Why? Because your unconscious is working overtime, trying to process what your conscious mind refuses to face. You feel like you're holding a secret, but it's from yourself. Maybe it's the desire to leave a job you hate. Maybe it's grief you've never spoken aloud. Maybe it's rage at being invisible. Maybe it's the terrifying realization that the life you've built was never really yours. And every day you avoid that truth, your energy gets siphoned off, not by external demands, but by internal contradiction. Now think about the roles you've locked yourself into: the overachiever, the fixer, the responsible one, the spiritual one, the helper, the calm one. These roles have become cages, and every time you over-identify with one, you push another part of you deeper into shadow. You're praised for being consistent, stable, hardworking, but no one sees the cost. No one sees the child inside you screaming, the artist going unused, the rage held in your jaw, the grief buried under your smile. You wonder why you're so tired. It's because you're holding back a tidal wave. And when the wave has no place to go, it collapses inward. Jung called this psychic energy turned against the self. The result? Apathy, chronic fatigue, numbness. You are not just tired, you are disconnected from your life force. Ask yourself, what part of me have I silenced for so long that my body had to speak for it? Now imagine this. You're sitting in traffic, going to a job you dread, replaying the same thoughts you had yesterday. In the background, a quiet knowing rises. This isn't sustainable. You swallow it, Again, you listen to a podcast to distract yourself. You scroll your phone at red lights. You get to the office, put on your game face, and pretend you don't feel like dying inside. This is not dramatic. This is real. And it is happening everywhere to people who seem fine. But if you are honest, you know that no pill, no nap, no retreat will restore you until you start living in alignment. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But that's what this fatigue is demanding, radical honesty. The courage to look at your life and say, where am I betraying myself? Where have I gone silent to keep the peace? What dream have I buried under responsibility, perfectionism, or fear? Because until you answer those questions, the fatigue will stay. Not to punish you, but to wake you from the coma of pretending, to wake you into the life you were always meant to live, not as a role, not as a mask, but as your whole self. And maybe, just maybe, when you begin to reclaim that self, you'll wake up one morning, take your first breath, and realize you're not tired anymore. Your fatigue isn't random. It follows laws, not biological alone, but psychological. Jung saw the psyche not as chaos, but as a system governed by energy, libido. Not just sexual energy, but life energy, your drive, focus, imagination, and capacity for connection. And when this psychic energy is blocked, split, or misdirected, it doesn't disappear, it turns inward. And it begins to corrode. So ask yourself, where has your energy gone? What are you suppressing to stay stable? What unresolved inner war is draining your vitality from beneath the surface? The first mechanism, libido misdirection. Jung believed that when your core energy isn't aligned with your essence, it fragments. Let's say your soul longs to create, but your life demands constant caretaking. Or you crave solitude, but you force extroversion to be liked. Your libido is split, one part obeying the ego, the other crying out from the self. That split costs energy, and fatigue becomes the bill you pay for abandoning your true path. Then comes persona fatigue. You've built a version of yourself that others expect, the helpful friend, the reliable employee, the peaceful spiritual seeker. But behind that mask is a truth you've muted: rage, exhaustion, desire, grief. Every day you perform the role, smiling when you want to scream, nodding when you want to walk away. Your psyche loses energy. Why? Because lying is expensive. And the body always knows when you're lying. Ask, how many times a day do you betray what you feel just to keep the peace? Now consider shadow suppression. All the parts of you you've labeled unacceptable: anger, ambition, sexuality, selfishness, don't vanish. They retreat into the unconscious where they fester, and suppressing them takes enormous psychic effort. Over time, this effort becomes chronic. You feel heavy, unmotivated, unable to act. Not because you're weak, but because your energy is locked in the dungeon of repression. Where have you sent your anger, your wildness, your grief, and how tired are you from keeping the door shut? Another mechanism is psychic inflation collapse. After spiritual awakening, many over-identify with a higher self-image. I'm above drama. I'm beyond desire. I no longer need rest. I have purpose. This temporary inflation feels euphoric until it collapses. You swing from grandiosity to burnout. The truth, you bypassed your shadow. You didn't integrate, you escaped. And now your body is dragging you back to earth. Your exhaustion is not failure, it's grounding. Jung warned, the greater the inflation, the harder the fall. So ask, have I been trying to fly above my humanity and now find myself too tired to stand? There's also unconscious grief, the grief of a life unlived, of years lost to roles that were never yours, of dreams dismissed for the sake of being practical or approved. Grief that isn't felt doesn't go away, it leaks. It dims your light, muddies your focus, collapses your nervous system. And you say, I'm just tired.
But really, you're grieving, and no one taught you how. What grief have you never named because naming it would mean confronting what you've lost? The final mechanism is resistance to individuation. The self, your totality, is always calling you toward integration. When you ignore it, the psyche fights back. You feel drained not because you're off track, but because you're refusing to get on it. You procrastinate, you distract, you numb, and your energy bleeds into avoidance. But avoidance is not neutral, it depletes. Every act of self-abandonment leaves a psychic wound. And over time, you carry so many wounds that simply getting out of bed feels heroic. Ask, where am I still refusing the path that calls me because it would cost me my image, my comfort, or my control? Your chronic fatigue, viewed through Jung's lens, is not a flaw to fix. It's a fact to face. You are tired because something within you is unfinished, unspoken, unintegrated. You are tired because the self has been knocking and you've been pretending not to hear. But now maybe you're ready to listen. Because the cure is not in pushing harder. It's in pulling inward to the place where your energy was last whole. Because it's still there, waiting for you to come home. Stop asking how to get your energy back and start asking where you gave it away. This is the threshold where fatigue becomes transformation, not by force, but by attention. Because your exhaustion is not a lack of strength, it's a sign of misalignment. And to restore your vitality, you must stop bypassing your inner life and begin rebuilding from the root. 1. Track the moment your energy drops. Start small. When do you feel the wave of heaviness hit? After a certain conversation? Before work? Mid-scroll on social media? These aren't random episodes, they're psychic feedback. Jung believed symptoms are symbols. Your fatigue is data, so collect it. Journal when it begins, where you are, what you're doing, and most importantly, what you're suppressing in that moment. Ask, what did I just silence in myself? What truth did I avoid to keep the peace? What role did I just slip into that doesn't fit anymore? Patterns will emerge, and those patterns will point to the persona that's draining you. 2. Dismantle the false self gently. You don't need to destroy your persona. You need to rebuild it in service of your soul. Begin by noticing where you're overperforming. Are you always fine? Always helpful? Always composed? These performances once kept you safe. Now they're making you sick. Choose one area, one mask to remove, just for a day. Maybe it's the mask of competence. Let yourself say, I don't know. Or the mask of patience. Let yourself say, this isn't okay. Feel the fear. Feel the freedom. This is the first exhale your nervous system has taken in years. 3. Reclaim exiled energy through shadow work. Every part of you you've buried, the angry one, the needy one, the creative one is still alive, but cut off. And that severance costs you vitality. Jung called this the shadow, the repressed self that longs for reintegration. Ask, who would I be if I stopped pretending to be good? What desire am I still ashamed of? What emotion do I judge so harshly I can't even feel it? Then give that part a name. Write to it. Let it speak in your journal. Not to indulge it, but to acknowledge it. Because what you do not integrate will exhaust you. Not because it's wrong, but because it's been waiting so long to be seen. 4. Let your grief speak. Fatigue is often unprocessed grief in disguise. The grief of years lost to performing. The grief of needing to be strong when you were actually breaking. The grief of never having been fully met, even in your closest relationships. Don't rush past this. Create a ritual. Light a candle. Sit with a photo. Write a letter to the part of you that got left behind. Then ask, what have I lost that I never grieved? What did I need to be that cost me my joy? What truth did I abandon just to belong? Let the tears come. They don't weaken you. They cleanse what performance polluted.
And after grief, there is often energy, not fireworks, but warmth, breath, a flicker of life returning. 5. Build energy through congruence. Congruence means your inner and outer life match.
What you say reflects what you believe. What you do honors what you value. When you're congruent, energy flows. When you're not, energy leaks. So ask, what habit exhausts me because it betrays my truth? What relationship costs me more than it feeds? What should-do I need to drop so I can finally be real? Then choose one act of alignment today. Cancel the thing that depletes you. Speak the truth that scares you. Move your body in a way that nourishes, not punishes.
Energy is not always about addition. Sometimes it's about subtraction, removing the lies. 6. Restore your libido through creativity and boundaries. Jung believed your libido, your life force, is regenerated through authentic expression. So stop waiting to feel better before creating. Create to feel alive again. Paint something ugly. Write something honest. Dance without filming it. Not for performance, but for integration. And protect the space where this can happen. Fatigue deepens when your time is constantly given away. So practice saying, I can't hold that right now. I'm not available for that. I need space. Boundaries aren't barriers. They're containers for vitality. 7. Stop managing symptoms, start responding to meaning. Supplements help, so do naps, but they won't heal what only truth can. Don't just treat the tiredness, interpret it. Ask it directly, what are you trying to tell me? What would I have to face if you went away? Who might I become if I let myself be whole, not just useful? Then listen, not with your mind, with your life. Because when you begin to live in alignment, energy doesn't just return, it rises, slowly, steadily. Not like caffeine, but like spring, after a long, soul-deep winter. And the fatigue? It becomes a compass, not an enemy. Because now you understand, you were never lazy. You were never broken. You were just waiting for permission to stop surviving and start living. What if your chronic fatigue isn't asking for another cure, but for your truth? You've spent years chasing fixes, vitamins, therapies, hacks. You've pushed through the exhaustion, blamed yourself for being weak, questioned your worth because you couldn't keep up. But what if your fatigue isn't a flaw to eliminate, but a language to decode? Ask yourself now, what truth have I silenced that my body now carries? What lie have I lived so long that it's become my identity? And what might awaken in me if I stop running from myself? Carl Jung taught that the symptoms you reject are often the very clues to your liberation. The fatigue you fight may be your soul's way of saying you can't live like this anymore. Not because you're broken, but because you're finally ready to become whole. So don't just seek relief, seek alignment. Seek the parts of you that were exiled, the voice you muted, the dream you buried, the emotion you feared. Reclaim them. Let your life speak again in your own language. Not performance, not perfection, but presence. You are not too tired to begin. You are tired because you haven't begun. Let this be the moment. The moment you stop asking, how do I fix myself, and start asking, what part of me is finally ready to be found, your body already knows. Will you listen? Call to action. Tonight, before you sleep, ask your fatigue one question. What are you trying to tell me? And then be brave enough to hear the answer.